Hello and welcome back to my channel What If Deku 2.0. Join us as we delve into the realms of fanfiction and fantasy, bringing you the best stories and discussions. Today, we're kicking off part 6 of our series, What If Deku Mastered 3 Swords Style Like Zoro? If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content in the future. The author of this story is GhostKnightTwilight from Archive of Our Own. All the relevant links are in the description. Feel free to say hello to the author on their profile. Now, let's dive into the fanfic. Izuku had just finished listening to Ojiro explain why he doesn't remember what happened in the second round of the sports festival. Apparently Shinso has a quirk where he can brainwash anyone who responds to him. Ojiro and the others were forced to help him earn enough points to make it to the next round. However, when Ojiro accidentally knocked into someone, he broke from his daze and was no longer under Shinso's control. Listen, be careful, and don't respond to him. If you do, then you need some kind of knock to break free. But I don't know how strong that knock has to be, so it would be better if you don't fall under his control at all. Ojiro. I will. Izuku nodded. Hey, if you don't mind, I have a request. Ojiro looked to Izuku. Sure, what is it? Please get him for me. He used me and my honor won't stand for it, so beat him and win. Ojiro put his hand on Izuku's shoulder. Izuku looked into Ojiro's eyes and smiled. I promise. Ojiro smiled back and they both left the room. No needing to say anything more. Izuku was thankful to Ojiro and now planned to just knock Shino out of the ring as fast as possible without saying a thing. Izuku then spent the rest of the time making sure the Watto was in good condition even if he couldn't use it for some of his matches. Nezu may have allowed him to use it so far, but for the final event Izuku could only use his sword if his opponent allowed it. Thankfully, when he told Kamakiri and Setsuna this, they both allowed it if they were able to fight. Izuku passed the message to Midnight, who asked Shinso on his behalf. Shinso allowed it as well, probably because he thought it wouldn't matter since he would try to brainwash him, not giving Izuku the chance to fight at all. Soon the festival challenges were over and Izuku went to the waiting room. Midnight and Cementos enter the field, and as Midnight got on stage, Cementos created the ring for the tournament. It was a concrete platform in the shape of a giant rectangle. There were also 4 pillars, 5 feet by 5 feet and 20 feet tall, in each corner with torches at the top. All right, the ring is ready. Cementos turned off the valve to the container with the concrete in it. Thank you, Cementos. It is time for the final event, Midnight announces, and the crowd cheers in excitement. Let's start this party. Here the final contenders will brawl it out to find out who is the toughest of them all. Present Mike riles the crowd up. Izuku left the waiting room and was standing in the tunnel that leads to the field. He was told to wait there until the light at the exit turned green, signaling him to enter the arena. Izuku was taking deep breaths to help him stay calm and not get more nervous. I'm glad to see that you made it this far. Izuku was surprised by the voice but smiled as he recognized it. I'm shocked to have made it this far, Yagi-sensei. Toshinori Yogi appeared from the dark part of the tunnel and smiled. Pleased with how close we became, call me Toshinori or Toshi. I think I will go with Toshinori or Toshi-sensei. Anyway, what brings you here? Well, first to say how proud I am that you have done so well so far. Second is to wish you luck in your matches. Thanks. I am excited but extremely nervous too. I can only use 10% of one for all without straining myself. 20 if I push it, but will suffer some backlash. I hope it is enough, but I am worried it won't be. I understand. But it is in times of stress or duress is when you need to smile the most. Smile to show that you are ready to spring into action with hope that everything will be okay. Stand proud of what you have accomplished. I expect great things for you. Toshinori buffed up and gave his signature smile. Thank you, Toshi-sensei. Izuku smiles back. The light then turned green, getting both Izuku's and All Might's attention. "Well, you better go. Good luck, young Midoriya." All Might waved and debuffed back into his thin form. Izuku nodded and exited through the tunnel, briefly blinded by the sun but soon adjusted. On one side is the class president of Hero Course Class 1A, the swordsman who put on an impressive show so far. "It's Izuku Midoriya," President Mike announces. Izuku gives a wobbly smile and waves at the crowd until he enters the ring. On the other side is the mysterious general course student who seems to have yet pull out the big guns, Hitoshi Shinso. Shinso enters the field looking nonchalant with his hands in his pockets. Midnight walked to the side of the arena and cracked her whip to gain everyone's attention. "Just in case, we will go over the rules again. You win by knocking out your opponent out of the ring, immobilizing them, or getting the other to surrender. There are no rules on how to fight. So if you end up hitting your opponent in their privates, then it's fine. But you can't go too far by maiming, hurting the other more than necessary, or continue fighting when the match is over. If you do, then I will be quick to disqualify you. Also, if things start going too far, then Cementos and I will intervene." Cementos sat in a referee chair and waved. "I will also repair the ring after every match if needed." Before we continue, since Midoriya is trained in sword combat and wants to show his skills, he is allowed to bring his sword into his matches, but only if his opponent allows it. Shinso has allowed it, so don't go complaining that Midoriya is being unfair or cheating. The winner will move on in the bracket and fight in the next round. Now are both contenders ready to fight? Midnight. Both Izuku and Shinso nod their heads. Then, while Izuku tied his bandana to his head, Shinso starts talking. "This is stupid. Ready to fight? No, this will be a battle of your heart and mind, Midoriya." Izuku raised an eyebrow, but knew not to speak. Shinso's face didn't change, but on the inside, he was frowning. That jerk must have told him how my quirk works. Well, that won't matter. He will start talking if I make him angry enough. "Start!" Midnight yelled, and Izuku reached for his sword and started running towards Shinso. "But honestly, at least you're smarter than that monkey idiot, giving up his chance at making a name for himself for some stupid honor. Honor will get you nowhere since it is so worthless." Shinso. Izuku scowled and yelled when he was in the middle of the ring. "What do you know about honor?" Izuku then stopped and went into a daze as Shinso smiled. "Got him." "What's this?" Midoriya was about to fight, but then stopped. "What is happening? Why isn't he moving?" President Mike. "I have always said that U.S. entrance exam isn't logical." Aizawa said away from the microphone. "What do you mean?" President Mike said away from his microphone as well. "The exam only allows certain students with certain quirks to have a chance at scoring high enough to pass. I grabbed copies of each contestant's data in case we had to explain how their quirks worked to the crowd and to any pros watching." Aizawa held up some sheets of paper. He then pulled out 2 sheets in particular, Izuku's and Shinso's. Looking at Shinso's data, he had no chance at passing. His quirk doesn't work on robots even though it is strong. However, he knew that and applied to the general course as a backup. Aizawa. "What's his quirk?" President Mike asks, and Aizawa hands him Shinso's paper. President Mike looks it over and his eyes widen. Hitoshi Shinso. Quirk. Brainwashing. His quirk allows him to put someone in a state where they are forced to obey whatever he commands. He can only activate this power when his target verbally responds to something he says. Brainwashing must be intentionally activated and will not take effect if Hitoshi doesn't want it to. Back to the arena, Shinso stops smiling and speaks a command. "Now turn around and walk out of the ring." Izuku slowly does as Shinso asked and starts walking back to the tunnel. Looking at Midoriya's data, he is very physically strong, maybe one of the strongest in his class. However, even if Midoriya didn't use his quirk, he would be leagues better than Shinso. He would have won a one-on-one fight against Shinso, who doesn't have any physical training. But unless he breaks free from the brainwashing, this match will be over quickly. Aizawa watched on in interest. Looks like Midoriya is under the effect of Shinso's quirk. Can he break free, or is it Shinso's win? Izuku slowly walked as he struggled to gain control. No, stop. My body is moving by itself. Damn it. Ojiro warned me, but I still fell for it. Come on, stop moving. So beat him and win. Izuku remembered what Ojiro asked of him and started struggling harder. I refuse to lose like this. My honor is on the line too, and I won't lose in a disrespectful way. Izuku then saw ahead in the tunnel where Toshinori was watching in shock. Some eyes and shadowy figures appeared and looked at him. There were 8 figures in total, and each had their eyes glow in different colors. Who are they? Izuku then saw one set of purple eyes step out from the rest. The figure was shrouded in shadows, and the only detail Izuku could see is that their outline suggests they were female. Go on, resist. Don't give in. Use your will to fight back. Izuku was surprised that the figure spoke. She then returned back to the other figures, but still kept watching him. Izuku, however, knew he shouldn't dwell on that now and listened to what it said. I refuse to lose. I refuse to give up. My will is stronger than this. Izuku then turned on full cowling. The lightning arced and sparked around him until he unleashed it to break free from Shinso's control. Ah! Shinso and everyone else was shocked to see Izuku break free. How? How did you do that? Shinso yelled. Izuku didn't respond and stared at the tunnel, now seeing only Toshinori. Izuku then shook his head and turned around with his hand on his sword. Looks like Midoriya broke free. This is getting exciting, folks. No, I need him to speak. Wow, you sure are strong to break free. You must have a powerful quirk. Izuku just closed his eyes and started taking deep breaths. You are lucky, being born with that much power. Unlike me, I barely even made it here to have a spot in the sports festival. Izuku just continued ignoring him and kept silent. He then unsheathed his sword and held it over his head. You just don't understand the struggle. How hard it is to go through life with a normal or even villainous quirk. Say something, damn it. Shinso got fed up and charged at Izuku. Shinso raised his fist as he was about to punch Izuku in the face. But before he could blink, Izuku closed the gap between them and slashed his sword downward. One sword style, tiger trap. Izuku quickly sliced Shinso, who then fell down and lost consciousness. The crowd was silent as most didn't even see what happened. Midnight ran up to Shinso to check on him. Once she confirmed he wasn't badly hurt, she raised her whip to announce the winner. Izuku Midoriya has knocked out Hitoshi Shinso. Midoriya is the winner. That was amazing. Izuku Midoriya broke free from Shinso's quirk and defeated him in less than a second. Midoriya is the winner. The Jumbotron then replayed what happened in slow motion so that everyone could see what happened. The crowd was shocked but applauded Izuku's victory. Izuku put his sword away, took off his bandana, and smiled. He then heard his class cheering for him and turned to look at them. All his friends were congratulating him, and Ojiro looked at him with a smile. Izuku smiled back and nodded, signaling he kept his promise. Soon the medical robots, or Medibots, came over to carry Shinso to Recovery Girl so she could check him. Shinso, however, woke up before they could try to lift him onto the stretcher. Shinso looked around until he remembered what happened. So, I lost, Shinso said quietly with a frown. Izuku then went over to Shinso to talk. Maybe, but you had me on the ropes for a second. Shinso didn't even look at Izuku and continued frowning while sitting and staring at the ground. But it wasn't enough to defeat someone as strong as you. You're misunderstanding something. I wasn't always strong. Heck, my quirk was originally so weak that I couldn't use it for anything, let alone hero work. Shinso was shocked to hear that and looked up at Izuku. I only got strong after I worked hard to be able to finally use it. Before that I focused on learning how to use a sword to be a hero. My quirk doesn't even need me to use a sword, but I learned swordsmanship to give me a chance to be strong enough to be a hero, for a chance to fight back against any villain. Unlike you who has an amazing quirk that is perfect for saving lives. You just need to work on your body first, and you will be a great hero. Izuku. Shinso's eyes widen as he stared at Izuku. You really think I can be a hero? Not only me, have you even listened to the crowd? Izuku points at a group yelling at how powerful Shinso's quirk was. Shinso was thankful he was sitting, otherwise he would have fallen to the ground after hearing people praise him. A lot of citizens and even some heroes were saying how impressive his quirk is and how it's a shame he isn't in the hero course. He then saw his classmates in the general course cheering for him. That was great, man. You will get him next time. You sure showed that the general course isn't to be messed with. Shinso smiled and his eyes watered. Thank you. And sorry for saying that stuff about you and your classmate. That guy with a tail isn't an idiot. There is nothing wrong with having honor. Maybe you just need to have some for yourself to see what it's like. It can surprisingly take you far. Izuku then left as Shinso got up. Honor for myself, eh? Maybe I should. Shinso was then escorted by the Medibots to see Recovery Girl to make sure he was all right. Izuku entered the tunnel and saw Toshinori giving him a thumbs up. Congratulations, you were able to turn the tide and win. Had me worried for a second there. Thank you, but can we talk somewhere privately really quick? I have something I wish to discuss with you, Izuku said in a serious tone. Toshinori got serious too and led Izuku to a spare waiting room and locked the door. Izuku then explained what happened when he was brainwashed and the figures that he saw. Toshinori only had one response. You saw some ghosts? Spooky, Toshinori yelled and got pale. That's your takeaway from this? Izuku yelled back. Sorry, it just sounds unreal. But I know from previous experience that the same thing happened to me. One day I just saw the same thing and it freaked me out. My master laughed at my reaction and told me that it's something all wielders of one for all go through. Wait, really? Izuku stared wide-eyed at Toshinori. Yeah, it's a milestone kind of thing, something that all wielders eventually go through. Just means that one for all is becoming yours. My master told me that the previous users must have left an imprint on the quirk, but it's nothing more than echoes. Then why did one speak to me? The silence was uncomfortable as Toshinori and Izuku stared at each other until Toshinori spoke. What did you say? One figure with purple eyes and a female figure walked forward and spoke to me, saying go on, resist. Don't give in. Use your will to fight back and then rejoin the others. Toshinori then took a seat and sighed. Okay, that's new and is something that I don't have an explanation for. However, I don't think it's something you should be worried about. Now I think it's time for you to head back to your classmates. They are probably waiting for you. Okay, well, thank you for the explanation. I will see you later. Izuku bowed before leaving. Once alone, Toshinori let out another sigh and stared up at the ceiling. Master, did you somehow leave a message in One for All? If so, why didn't I get it? Or was it even meant for me? Izuku went to the students-only section in the stands and was congratulated by his friends and classmates. Great job, Green. That was so manly. You were amazing. Congratulations. Way to go. Good job, *ribbit*. Congratulations are in order. I must commend you. You did amazing. Thanks, guys. Izuku was overwhelmed but happy at the response. What took you so long? The next fight is about to start soon. Ochako. Sorry, I just had something to take care of. Izuku took his seat and waited for the second match to begin. The next match was Kamakiri versus Ibara Shiozaki, a girl of medium height with green, thorn-covered vines for hair, one set wrapped around her forehead a couple of times in the shape of a cross. Kamakiri was your teammate in the last round, right, Midoriya, Momo? Yeah, he was. It was interesting to fight with him. Izuku. Literally fight with him since you used him like a sword. That was crazy to see, you know, Mina. Yeah, but it was super cool to see that, Kirishima. Izuku smiled nervously and rubbed the back of his head. Why, yeah, but it was unexpected and helped fight off anyone after our headband. Hey, it's starting. Gyro pointed at the ring as the two 1B students walked to the ring. The second match is now starting. One side has the living weapon, the human buzzsaw. It's Class 1B's Togaru Kamakiri. Kamakiri was stoic as he stood on his end of the ring. On the other side is the walking garden, a beautiful rose with sharp thorns, Class 1B's Ibara Shiozaki. Ibara was praying on her side of the ring. Are both contestants ready? Midnight asks, and both sides replied. Yeah, Kamakiri. Indeed, Ibara. Midnight nodded and cracked her whip. Start. Ibara immediately had her hair dig into the ground and made a wall of vines. Ibara Shiozaki, quirk, vines. Her quirk gives her hair like vines that grow on her head. She can lengthen and manipulate the vines, allowing her to attack, defend, and grapple. She also can detach them at will. The vines will grow back, provided her head receives proper sunlight and water. Present Mike. Looks like since she knows Kamakiri is a close-range fighter, she is creating a wall to keep him at bay. Aizawa. Kamakiri grew 2 long blades from his forearms and sliced through the vines. Sorry, Shiozaki, but that won't stop me. I know, that's why that wall wasn't meant to stop you. Ibara then created a long whip-like vine that dug underground. That vine then popped out underneath Kamakiri and grabbed his leg. Huh? I thought you hated sneaky moves? She then used the rest of her vines to trap her opponent in a ball of vines suspended in the air to restrict movement. I do, which is why I prayed for the Lord's forgiveness before the match started. But let me also ask for your forgiveness as well, Kamakiri. Ibara prayed again. Kamakiri is caught. Is the match already over? Before Midnight could ask if Kamakiri could move, multiple blades poked out of the vine ball. Then those blades started to spin, cutting Kamakiri free. Nice thinking, Shiozaki, but not enough. Kamakiri sliced through the vine prison. He is back on the offensive. Ibara was shocked that he escaped and tried to use her remaining vines to capture him again. But Kamakiri just sliced through those vines and charged towards Ibara. He was soon in front of Ibara and slashed at her hair, shortening it. He then pointed his other blade at her throat and stood there. Give up yet? Ibara looked at her vine hair and saw how short they were. She then nodded and sighed. I give. Ibara Shiozaki has given up. Togaru Kamakiri wins, Midnight announces as the crowd cheers. Sorry, I know that a man should never hurt a woman's hair, but I had little choice. Kamakiri. Don't be, I believe this to be penance for my deceitfulness earlier. Ibara and Kamakiri shook hands and left the ring while the crowd applauded their sportsmanship. Izuku smiled as he now gets to fight Kamakiri in his next match. The ring was fixed by Cementos, and it was now Todoroki and Zero's turn to fight. Todoroki was exiting his waiting room and was heading to the tunnel. Along the way, Endeavor was waiting with his arms crossed and Todoroki frowned. Out of the way. I see you still haven't used your fire. I don't need it. Todoroki replied coldly. Look, I'm not what you think I am, and it is holding you back. I am not saying that you are wrong about me. I am not that good of a man. But you can be better than me if you stop and listen. You have limited yourself, and it will cause problems later. Endeavor uncrossed his arms and looked at his son. You're right. I am better than you, and I don't need your power. That is what's holding me back. Todoroki stated, walking past Endeavor. Endeavor shakes his head, but allows his son to walk on by. You have a limit, son. I just hope that Midoriya Kid can help you see it. Todoroki entered the field and stood on his side of the arena. He then saw Zoro walk to his side and started stretching his arms. Time for the next match. On one side is the King of Cold himself, an absolute force of nature, hero course student of Class 1 Shoto Todoroki. The other side is someone who has been doing an excellent performance so far, but will he be able to beat the powerhouse Todoroki? Also, in the Hero Class 1A, the tape dispenser, Hinata Zero, present mic. Please at least try to be unbiased when doing the introductions. Aizawa. Are both fighters ready, Midnight? The two nod and Zero stops stretching. You know, I don't think I have a high chance at winning. Especially after what present Mike said, though he could have been nicer about it. Zero shrugs. Start. But I am not giving up either. Zoro shots his tape at Todoroki and ties him up. Zoro then pulls to swing Todoroki towards the edge of the ring. With lightning-quick reflexes, Zoro is trying to get Todoroki out of the ring before he can fight back. Smart plan, but not good enough. Todoroki started to freeze the tape, causing it to break. Once Todoroki was free and touched the ground, he unleashed an ice attack that covered most of the ring, Zoro, and part of the stands. This attack was so big, an iceberg could be seen poking out of the stadium. Zero's lower half was encased in ice and was shaking with how cold it was. It's like the worst part of getting in a cold pool times 1,000, Zoro said fast through his chattering teeth. The crowd and students were silent as Todoroki decimated the match. Zoro, are why you able to move? Midnight stuttered as she was cold from being close to the action. And not RR really. T then Todoroki is T the winner. We will T take a Q quick break T to unfreeze the arena, Midnight announced. Todoroki walked up to Zoro and placed his left hand on Zero's legs and started to melt the ice. Sorry, I was irritated before the match and took it out on you, but overdid it. Nothing personal. K kinda hard and not T to feel T that way. Zoro. Most of the crowd felt sorry for Zoro and chanted it's alright, but it didn't make him feel better. Izuku meanwhile stared at Todoroki, and as he watches him unfreeze Zoro, Izuku couldn't help but think about how he looked. Todoroki looks so sad. Once the ice was melted and the water was dried, the rest of the matches resumed. In the Mina vs. Gyro match, Gyro won because Mina was too scared if her acid hit Gyro, so mostly used her acid to skate in close for hand-to-hand combat. Gyro, however, was able to jab her jack into Mina's ear and blasted her heartbeat into her head, making Mina pass out. Then it was Ida vs. Hatsume, where Hatsume tricked Ida into showing off her support gadgets. The match lasted for almost half an hour until Mei was done and stepped out of the ring, giving Ida the win. However, he wasn't happy about how he was used and given the win. Tetsu and Kirishima fought next, and was the most boring match. The two just wailed on each other, but because their quirks are defensive-based, neither was really hurting the other. Kirishima, figuring out that his attacks weren't working, bear hugged Tetsu and pushed him out of the ring. Tetsu tried digging his feet into the concrete to stop, but it wasn't enough, and Kirishima won. The two, however, shook hands, saying how manly the other was, and sort of became friends. Midnight cooed at the scene while Aizawa had to get the next match to start. In the Momo vs. Aoyama fight, Momo immediately created a mirror shield and Aoyama tried shooting his laser at Momo. The mirror shield bounced Aoyama's laser away from her and she got in close. Aoyama tried shooting around the shield but had no luck hitting her and eventually had his stomach blow out for shooting too many lasers. Momo then used the chance to get close and deliver an uppercut with her shield to Aoyama's chin. Aoyama was knocked out and Midnight declared Momo the winner. Momo was disappointed at how easy that was, but happy she still won. Finally, the Bakugo vs. Setsuna fight was the last match of the first round. This was one of the more exciting matches since Setsuna kept her distance by flying, but Bakugo kept up by using his explosion to also fly. Setsuna tried attacking, but Bakugo used his explosions to keep her away or blast her pieces. She then tried to knock him out of the air and land out of bounds, but Bakugo was too stubborn to fall. Bakugo won when he blasted enough of Setsuna's body parts, causing her to lose stamina to regrow them. That made her too tired to avoid Bakugo's attack, where he created a huge explosion that caught all of her parts in the sky. Setsuna was knocked out by that final attack and was carried off by the Medibots to visit Recovery Girl. Izuku, worried for his ex-teammate, visited her in the nurse's office. Knock knock hello, can I come in? It's fine. Recovery Girl answered and Izuku entered. He saw Setsuna bandaged up and sitting on the hospital bed. Hey Midoriya, why are you here? I came to check in on you. Are you doing okay? Izuku sat in the chair beside the bed. Awa, you came to see me. Didn't know you cared that much, Setsuna teased. Izuku blushed slightly but continued the conversation. Well, we were teammates and like to think I became friends with you and Kamakiri. Setsuna was shocked when hearing that but smiled. Really? I like to think so too. Sorry I won't be able to fight you though, that would have been an interesting match. You trying to cut the blade resistant me. Maybe another time, Izuku joked, and Setsuna laughed. Ha, well to answer your question earlier, I'm mostly fine. A few bruises and singed skin, but I will get better. That's good. I was worried about you, and seeing you act this lively already has put my heart at ease. Izuku smiled. Setsuna blushed this time and tried distracting him from seeing. As you see, I'm fine, but you should get going. It will be yours and Kamakiri's match soon. Oh, you're right. Then I hope you get better, and I will see you later. Izuku got up from his chair and stretched a little. Put on a good show. I will be watching from here. Setsuna pointed at the flat screen in the room showing the sports festival. I will. Izuku waved goodbye and left the room. Setsuna sighed in relief that Izuku didn't notice her blushing, but was also weirdly upset too. Recovery Girl smiled silently as she heard their interaction. Can't believe they forgot I was here. Ah, youth. It is now time for the second round of the tournament. This match is bound to be an interesting one since it's one swordsman against another. The crowd cheers as Izuku and Kamakiri entered the field and stood at their ends of the ring. Iro sat on the edge of his seat waiting in anticipation. This is it, Izuku. The next challenge you must face if you want to become a better swordsman. He is probably out for revenge for being used like a sword. The mantis with sharp blades, Toguro Kamakiri. I am not that upset actually. Kamakiri shrugs. And he is the fast and deadly swordsman who has been dominating the festival, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku tied his bandana on again and stared at Kamakiri. I thank you for this challenge, Kamakiri. Yeah, well, you're going to have a hard time beating me with a sword. I am immune to any bladed attacks, so I don't know why you want to try. Kamakiri smirks. Your blades are as sharp as steel. If I want to defeat you, then I will need to learn how to cut steel. This is the next step for me to become stronger as a swordsman, so I will gladly take on this challenge. Izuku. Oh, really? Kamakiri continued smirking and narrowed his eyes. I have been looking for a challenge just like this one to raise my skills to the next level. When I defeat you, then I will have become the swordsman who can cut through anything, including steel. Izuku smirked back. When you defeat me, that's funny. Didn't know you were trying to become a comedian as well as a hero. Are both contestants ready? Midnight asks as she sees both Izuku and Kamakiri nod. Then start. Both run to meet in the middle and clash their blades into the others. Better give up now, otherwise you might not last as long. Kamakiri. Oh, I'm so scared, Izuku mocked as he tried slashing at Kamakiri's arm. Kamakiri created a blade to stop the attack. He then created some claws from his backhand and swiped at Izuku. Izuku used his sword to block the attacks and had to take a few steps back. Already things are heating up as Midoriya and Kamakiri clash. None of Midoriya's sword attacks are doing anything while Kamakiri is getting his attacks blocked. "Come on, Midoriya," Izuku's friends and some classmates cheered. "Show one of that Class 1B is better, Kamakiri," Monoma yelled from Class 1B's seats. Kamakiri then tried kicking Izuku, but he dodged it with a backstep. However, once Kamakiri's leg was in the air, he used the blade on his arms to slice at Izuku. Izuku deflected him and tried to throw off Kamakiri's balance. Kamakiri recovered and slashed at Izuku with his forearm blades. Izuku was getting pushed back and was almost about to ring out, so he went full cowling to gain enough strength to stop and push Kamakiri off. Kamakiri almost got Midoriya out of bounds, but by using his quirk, Midoriya was able to stay inside. Izuku then started his assault and attacked Kamakiri. They both ended up clashing again and kept slashing, stabbing, dodging, and blocking each other until they moved away from the edge of the ring. Can't rely on full cowling. The secret to cutting steel won't be with strength but technique. Izuku turned off his quirk as he had gained enough ground. Izuku then surprised Kamakiri with a kick that landed on his stomach. Gah! Kamakiri was pushed back and Izuku tried stabbing at his chest. Kamakiri created some blades around his chest to block the attack and recovered. Tiger Trap! Izuku then tried another slash on Kamakiri's chest, but was blocked by his forearm blades. I told you, bladed attacks don't work on me. Kamakiri jumped back and the two took a quick break. Izuku took some deep breaths to stop panting from exhaustion. I'm honestly surprised that you aren't hurt in any way. But you will be soon. Kamakiri lunged forward with a kick that had a blade coming out of his shin. Izuku dodged, but Kamakiri stopped midway, grew a blade near his heel, and slashed his leg back. Izuku blocked it, but was getting concerned. Right, his whole body can grow blades anywhere, so there is no front or a back on his blades. Kamakiri grew the claws on his backhand again and slashed at Izuku. Go Kamakiri, win. Show them why Class 1B is the best, Monoma obnoxiously cheered. Izuku's friends heard this and started cheering louder, hoping he can win. While Izuku blocked the attacks, Kamakiri pushed forward until he slammed Izuku into one of the corner pillars. Ah! Izuku yelled in pain. Midoriya, his friends called out in concern. Kamakiri didn't stop there and slashed at the pillar. The pillar was cleanly cut through and fell down on Izuku while Kamakiri dodged. Gah! Oh no! Ochako held her hands to her mouth as she and the others got worried. Midoriya has taken the first hit and a pretty nasty one after that. Did Kamakiri secure the win? As the smoke cleared, Izuku was seen under the fallen concrete pillar and was bleeding profusely. This is bad. I have been pushed to my limits and had my back against the wall before, but I always found a way to win and come out on top in the end. I trained harder than anyone else, so what is it I lack to beat him? Izuku thought as laid there. Izuku starts remembering his time learning swordsmanship and training with Iro. When he was a kid, he told Iro a rumor he heard that some swordsmen could cut through steel and asked if it was true. Iro confirmed that it is true, and when he asked if he could learn how to as well, Iro told him that he knew the secret of cutting steel. Izuku asked to be taught and Iro showed him a demonstration. Flashback. Izuku is kneeling on the porch in front of Iro, who is standing in the training field with his katana and a piece of paper. Now watch carefully, Izuku, and pay attention to what I do. Iro. Izuku nods his head excitedly to see what the secret is as Iro readies both his sword and paper. Hiya! Iro yells as he tosses the paper in the air and in only a second slashes at the paper with his sword. The whole time Izuku's eyes are wide open to attempt to not miss anything that is happening. Iro's sword makes contact with the paper and fully brings down his sword, while Izuku is expecting the paper to be shredded to ribbons. After a few seconds, Izuku realizes that the piece of paper that Iro had slashed at is still intact afterwards. You didn't even cut it, Izuku says plainly as all of his excitement was now drained out of his body. Iro bends down to pick up the paper and shows it to Izuku. Izuku, I didn't cut it because I didn't want to cut it, Iro says with a cheeky smile, enjoying the confused look on his student's face. This is the secret to cutting steel. Izuku tilts his head to the side and questions Iro, what do you mean you didn't want to cut it, and what do you mean by this is the secret to cutting steel? Iro sits next to Izuku and watches the leaves fall from a nearby tree. The secret to learning how to cut through almost anything is to learn how not to cut anything. Iro then turns his head back at Izuku. That is the secret to cut steel. I know it sounds strange and believe me, I didn't get it the first time either. But after more training, I believe you will learn how not to cut anything. Iro smiles at Izuku as he turns his head back at the falling leaves. There are strong swordsmen in the world who are capable of cutting nothing but can also cut anything including steel, even using the same sword. The strongest swordsmen can cut what they want to cut and protect what they want to protect. Swordplay that can only harm what it touches is not real swordsmanship. I hope you will understand this someday, Izuku, and learn to cut nothing and anything. Iro smiled as he watched the falling leaves. Izuku also watches the leaves from vine fall and says to Iro, I hope I do as well and understand what you mean. Iro then laughs and starts to make a new batch of tea for him and Izuku to enjoy. To cut through steel, I first have to learn how to cut nothing. That doesn't make any sense. Izuku picked up the pillar on top of him. Izuku slowly stood up while holding the heavy pillar above his head. What's this? Midoriya is back up and holding up the 20-foot pillar. There isn't any green lightning surrounding his body, so I don't even think he is using his quirk at all. Kamakiri was shocked at this feat of strength, but still smirked. Color me impressed. However, you won't be able to beat me if you can only defend, so come on and attack me already. I am a little busy here at the moment. Izuku breathed heavily as he continued holding up the pillar. Izuku then threw the pillar towards Kamakiri, who grew some blades on his forearms. Send whatever you want my way, I cut it to pieces, Kamakiri. Swordplay that can cut nothing. What did that mean? Think. Izuku readied the Wado Ikemanji as the pillar fell. Let's just continue attacking and see if I can find an answer. Izuku jumped and started cutting the pillar into small squares. You're not the only one who can cut. Izuku then burst through the pillar and slashed down onto Kamakiri. Izuku kept slashing and thrusting his sword into Kamakiri, who created multiple blades to block the attacks. Izuku tried another stab at Kamakiri's chest, and while it was blocked by his blades, it did send him back a few feet. Izuku kept attacking, forcing Kamakiri to focus on defense. Izuku would try to cut Kamakiri's arm, and it would be blocked. Izuku would then stab at his leg and be blocked again. Kamakiri was forced back by another stab and kneeled down, but Izuku then put his blade underneath Kamakiri's chin, with the blade aimed at his neck. Crab Claw, Izuku swung upwards and punched the top of Kamakiri's head with his other hand. The punch made it so Kamakiri could move out of the way of Izuku's sword, which then made contact, sending Kamakiri upwards. Kamakiri, however, landed on his feet, suffering no damage. At the last second, he grew the hook blades that jut out from both of his cheeks to be bigger to block the attack. Nice move, but it's not enough. Kamakiri regrew his forearms' blades, but this time had them come out at an angle. Now his blades pointed towards his hands and started his attack. Izuku was blocking again as he was forced to be on the defensive again. On the defensive again, face it, you can't beat me. Kamakiri suddenly had a blade pop out from his chest at Izuku. Izuku blocked, but that was what Kamakiri wanted. With his arm blades, he slashed Izuku, cutting him and causing him to bleed more. Og, Izuku yelled as he fell to one knee. Kamakiri followed up by creating small blades along his knuckles, punched Izuku in his gut, and sent him flying into another corner pillar. Ah! Izuku screamed in pain, dropped down, and dropped his sword. This is getting brutal. Midoriya isn't able to hurt Kamakiri and is the only one to receive any damage. If this keeps up, Midnight might have to call the match. Izuku's classmates were getting worried for him along with Toshinori and Iro. Midoriya is struggling in this fight. Being against someone who is immune to your attacks, this is an uphill battle. Endeavor said from his seat next to Iro. True, but the kid doesn't give up so easily. I have faith in him. Iro replied as he never stopped looking at the ring. Midnight was getting worried for Izuku as she saw him bleed and was about to call the match. Izuku, after hearing Present Mike's commentary, starts getting back up. No, I refuse to lose. I can't let him win like this. Izuku looked up and saw Midnight raising her arm. Izuku stared at her, shook his head, and mouthed the word no to her. Midnight was shocked to see Izuku still willing to fight even while bleeding so much. How can he push through the pain? I know I should just call it off, but... Midnight sighed and put her arm down. Give up yet? I recommend it, otherwise you will be in a world of pain. Kamakiri taunted as he walked up to Izuku. Never. Izuku panted as he finally stood up and leaned onto the pillar. I warned you. Kamakiri closed his eyes before opening them and slashed his blades at the pillar. As the bottom part of the pillar was cut through, the top part started to crumble and fall towards Izuku. I am having bad luck with stones right now, Izuku thought as he saw the stones falling. As the stones landed, they created a cloud of dust and smoke. Kamakiri, thinking that it's over, started to walk away back to the center of the ring. Kamakiri topples another pillar onto Midoriya. This is looking like Kamakiri's win. I, however, salute you, Midoriya, for continuing to fight till the end, Present Mike. Kamakiri stood for a second waiting for Midnight to announce him as the winner. But when he heard nothing, he turned around to ask why she hasn't said he won yet and was shocked to see Izuku still standing as the smoke cleared. Midnight, Toshinori, Aizawa, Present Mike, pretty much everyone was shocked to see Izuku standing amidst the scattered stones. Erase your head. How is your student still standing? How did he dodge the stones when he is badly bleeding? Present Mike asked his co-host. I don't know, Aizawa replied. That's impossible. He is so badly hurt. Did he somehow manage to dodge the falling stones? Kamakiri stared wide-eyed at Izuku. Is that what I did? Did I dodge them? Izuku thought as he looked down and saw that he was in the perfect spot where no stones have fallen in. No, I just sensed where no stones would fall. My sword. Izuku looked over to one stone in particular. I sense my sword in underneath that stone. Izuku walked over to it and started moving the stone. What is he doing? Everyone thought as they watched Izuku. Izuku pushed the stone and revealed that his sword was indeed underneath it. I believe I experienced this before. Izuku thought back to the first visit to the Asagi, specifically when he got punched by the Namu and was sent flying into the stairs. I was badly hurt, and everything around me was very quiet, so quiet that I could hear my heartbeat clearly. Again, right now I'm hurt, and I feel the same as back then. Izuku picked up his sword and held it up. It was almost like the falling stones gave me a hint, as if they were living things. Izuku closed his eyes as he remembered. No, it wasn't a hint, it was much clearer than that. There was a rhythm to it. Could it be that other things have rhythm too? Izuku looked around at the grass outside the ring, the ground, the stands, and the metal railings. Does cutting nothing mean hearing the rhythm of things around you? Is that the secret to cutting steel? Izuku thought. What the hell did you do? After getting attacked like that and bleeding as much as you are, there is no way for you to be still standing, Kamakiri yelled. Izuku looked to him but ignored what he was saying. I hear it, the rhythm to his steel, just like everything else. Izuku then raised his sword. Iro, meanwhile, has been watching in concern for Izuku. But as he saw Izuku raised his sword, he smiled. Did you do it, Izuku? Did you figure it out? Iro stood up, confusing and devour. Master, what do you mean? Iro didn't answer as he just kept his eyes on Izuku. The wind then started to blow, carrying a flyer right towards Izuku. Izuku saw it get close, and once in range, he sliced his sword at it. But when the Watto came into contact with the flyer, it just glided off. Izuku then took his sword and sliced at a stone next to him, cleanly cutting it in two. You did. Iro ran to the railing and smiled even bigger. Endeavor followed him and watched Izuku. What did he get? Master, please explain. All right, if you won't say anything, then I will just have to make sure you go down this time, Kamakiri yelled. Just one question remains. Do I really have the ability to cut steel? There is only way to find out. Izuku turned to face Kamakiri. I'm going to pincushion you. Do you really think you can defend against me? Kamakiri grew back his blades and grew new ones. In fact, he started growing so many blades that you couldn't even see his body anymore as the blades sticked out in all directions. No, I won't defend. Izuku then sheathed his sword and took a stance. Then you will fall. Kamakiri ran at Izuku with the intention on skewering him. As Kamakiri got close, Izuku spun his sword into his right hand and held on to the handle with his left. One sword style, lion's song. Kamakiri pointed his blades at Izuku, who quickly unsheathed his sword to attack. Once Kamakiri was past Izuku, he stood still as Izuku was sheathing his sword slowly. Once his sword clicked into its sheath, all of Kamakiri's blades broke off and a gush of blood spurted out of his chest. Gah! Everyone was stupefied as Kamakiri fell to his knees, not expecting this outcome except for Iro. Thanks to you, I finally reached the next level. Izuku smiled as he looked down at his sword. Kamakiri looked at his chest wound and then at Izuku. I don't believe it. He learned to cut steel, just like he said he would. Now that you have cut steel, what's next for you? Diamonds? Kamakiri asked as Izuku fell to his knees. No, that would be a waste, Izuku smirked. Heh, well, congratulations and good luck for your next matches. Kamakiri chuckled as he then fully fell down. Izuku took off his bandana and sighed. Midnight, realizing that Izuku had won, raised her arm and called it. Izuku Midoriya has knocked out Toguro Kamakiri. Midoriya is the winner. The crowd broke into a loud applause and cheered as the Medibots came to take the two to Recovery Girl. After Izuku's fight with Kamakiri, they were both sent to Recover Girl to be checked out. Once Recovery Girl healed his wounds, Izuku decided to take a short nap to make sure he has enough energy for his next match. After some time has passed, Izuku's alarm on his phone went off. He woke up and opened his blurry eyes. *HM*, how long was I out? Izuku asked as he sat up. And not that long. A few matches have come and gone, but it's almost Bakugo's and Yayurazu's turn. Gyro said in the bed beside Izuku, covered in blankets. Gyro, what are you doing here? Izuku looked over at her in surprise. He also saw Kamakiri in another bed, deep asleep. My match was after yours, and I was up against Todoroki. I tried jabbing my jacks into the G-ground and sent my heartbeat vibrations into it. Tried to disrupt his ice before it got to me. That just forced him to get up close and turn me into an ice's sculpture. I lost and went to Recovery Girl to try to warm up. Gyro shivered underneath her blankets. She hugged them tightly to try to get warm again. Izuku felt bad for her, so he grabbed his blanket and draped it on her. Here, I don't need this anymore. Gyro blushed but smiled as she felt his warmth still on the blanket. Tea, thanks. By the way, where is Recovery Girl? I want to ask if I am all right to fight in my next match. Izuku looked around but didn't see the nurse doctor. I am right here. Recovery Girl peeled open a curtain that was next to another bed and mini fridge. I was grabbing a drink. Recovery Girl held up a can of juice. She then went to Izuku and placed some gummies in his hand. And you are okay to fight. Just eat those gummies. I used my quirk to heal you so you don't have much energy. However, with those gummies and the nap you took, you should gain enough energy to fight. Thank you. Izuku popped the gummies in his mouth and ate them as fast as he could. Just doing my job, which you aren't making easy. That Kamakiri boy was really hurt after you somehow sliced through his blades. Recovery Girl sat in her chair and opened her juice. Sorry. Izuku bowed while Gyro chuckled. Don't apologize, Green. That match was awesome and totally unexpected. Gyro smiled. Thanks. Anyway, if it's almost time for Yayarazu's and Bakugo's match, then what happened in Ida's and Kirishima's match? Ida won by using that burst of speed thing he did before and pushed Kirishima out of the ring. Not that exciting, especially after your previous match. Gyro shrugged. At least Ida was actually able to win without it being given to him. Can I have some more gummies? Izuku turned to Recovery Girl, who handed him some more. Thanks again, Recovery Girl. I will see you later, Gyro. I don't want to miss the next match. Later, Green. Izuku waved before leaving while Gyro smiled and waved back. That boy sure is a charmer. Recovery Girl thought as she saw the two's interaction. Izuku ran through the tunnels and heard Present Mike's voice come through on the speakers. It is now time for the final match of the second round. Hope you're in seats and not at the food stands. This match is bound to be a doozy. Crap, I am going to miss the match. Izuku ran down the tunnels but stopped when he saw one of the tunnels to the ring. Hold on, I might be able to see the match if I watch from the tunnel instead of trying to get back to the class seating area. Izuku walked to the end of the tunnel. Thankfully, this tunnel wasn't one of the tunnels the contenders take so he wouldn't distract them. Izuku peeked out to see Momo and Bakugo entering the ring. On one side of the ring is the Master of Explosions, Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo didn't react at all and stared at Momo with his hands in his pockets. The other side has the Creation Queen, Momo Yayarazu. Momo stood on her end of the ring, strategizing on what she would do and how to win. Midnight stood on the sides on a different platform and looked at the two. Are both contenders ready? Yes, ma'am. Momo nodded and Bakugo nodded as well. Bakugo then narrowed his eyes and took his hands out of his pockets. Then start, Midnight waved her whip and the Momo created a shield right off the bat. That was the right move as Bakugo used his explosions to leap over to her and open palm blasted the shield. Die. Bakugo starts things off with an explosion onto Yayarazu, but she was able to block it. Good, I correctly estimated what he would do. Now I need to move otherwise the force from his explosions can push me out of the ring. Momo tries running to the center of the ring. Bakugo, however, doesn't let her escape and rapidly fires more explosions on the shield. Momo crouched to maintain her balance and try to not be blown backwards. This is bad. I need to create something otherwise I won't last. Momo created another shield and instead of defending with it, she threw it into his stomach. Gah! Bakugo had to stop as the air was knocked out of him. Momo then created a quarterstaff and was about to swing it at his gut again. Bakugo recovered and dodged her attack. Nice try, but not good enough. Bakugo blasts Momo, who raised her shield to defend herself. Yayurazu turned things around and got the first hit. However, it wasn't enough to keep Bakugo down and he is back on the offensive. Bakugo then did the unexpected and stopped using his explosions. Huh? He stopped attacking? Does he need to recover or something? Mom got confused and decided to swing her staff at him. However, Bakugo planned for this and used an explosion to knock the staff away. Then he grabbed part of Momo's shield to lower it, and using his free hand, he directly blasted her. Ah! Momo had to let go of the shield to get away. That was a mistake, as Bakugo then blasted himself towards her and unleashed a big explosion that knocked her out of the ring. Yaoyorozu is out of bounds. Bakugo is the winner, Midnight yells as the crowd cheers. Momo looked down at the ground in frustration, saddened by her loss and upset that she couldn't do more. Yaoyorozu tried using her shield, however Bakugo moved it out of the way to attack, securing him the win. But let's give a round of applause for both contenders. Present Mike and the crowd clapped as Bakugo just ignored them. Izuku saw Momo looking frustrated with herself and frowned. As both Bakugo and Momo started to walk back to their tunnels, Izuku decided that he needed to cheer Momo up. So, he ran towards her tunnel to catch her. When he reaches her tunnel, Izuku sees Momo sitting against the wall looking down with a frown on her face. "Hey Yaoyorozu," Izuku waves. Momo perks up and sees Izuku. Hello Midoriya. It looks like you recovered from your last match, which was really impressive by the way. Thanks. So what are you doing here by yourself? Izuku stands next to Momo. Oh, I was just recovering my energy, so when I see Recovery Girl, I will have the stamina for her to heal me. Momo looks away while Izuku narrows his eyes. I don't believe that. I can tell that you are upset, and I want to help you feel better. Izuku sat next to Momo and looked over to her. Please tell me what's wrong. Momo looks back at Izuku and frowns again. She opens her mouth to tell him she is fine and that she just needs a little time to recover from her fight. But she sees Izuku looking at her with concern and empathy in his eyes, and she decides to open up. I am upset about my performance in my fight with Bakugo. I knew that I first needed to defend myself with my shield, but Bakugo was more relentless than I had planned. I couldn't move, and even when I found a chance to fight back, it didn't do much. Then he tricked me into attacking and used that chance to win. I tried coming up with a plan that didn't work, and my random impulse to attack cost me the win. Now I can't help but think what I could have done differently, what I could have done better. Momo looks down at her hands while trying to think of different strategies. Maybe if I created a sword instead, I may not have experienced much of your training, but maybe it might have helped me. Or maybe if instead of a second shield, I could have created a flashbang or breakable vial of water to dilute his sweat. I keep thinking of different strategies or ideas that could have helped me win. But as I think of better ideas, I think how stupid I am for not doing one of those instead. Momo grips his hands in frustration and tears start to well up in her eyes. Forgive my language, but that's bullshit. Momo is shocked to hear this coming from Izuku and looks at him. Listen, hindsight is 20/20ths, and it's easy to look back and think of better ideas you could have done. But in the heat of battle, you don't have the luxury to think of multiple strategies to win. Your opponent won't give you the chance, so you always got to think on the fly. And you did great. You immediately knew that he would charge in and created a shield to defend. You were the one to get the first hit by creating and throwing another shield at him. Plus, you told me that you have been training to use a staff for years, and it's better to use what you have experience with than using swordplay that you have only recently started training in. Izuku listed off as Momo stared at him in amazement. You may not have won today, but you can use today's loss to learn from and win a different battle tomorrow. So don't berate yourself for doing your best. Learn from what you did wrong to improve yourself, and remember what you did great in to use again later. You're too smart and amazing to downplay yourself. Izuku smiled at Momo, who blushed at his words. Did I not do as bad as I think it went? I mean, I did get a hit in and defended myself good enough to not be blown out of the ring at the start. Did I really do better than I thought? Momo contemplated as she eventually came to the conclusion that Izuku is right. Thank you. I believe you are right. I may not have won, but that doesn't mean I lost so easily. Thank you, Midoriya. Momo smiled back, and Tatu sat in silence for a bit before Izuku remembered he had to fight Todoroki next. I'm glad you are feeling better, however I have to go to the waiting room for my fight next. Izuku stood up and stretched. Before I go though, can you hold on to the Watto while I fight? Izuku removed his sword from his waist and presented it to Momo. Really? Momo stood up in shock. But won't you need it for your fight? I can fight without a sword, and there is something I can only accomplish if I don't bring it. So, I want someone I trust to hold onto it for me. Momo was happy to hear that Izuku trusted her to hold onto something very important to him and smiled. Then I would be happy too. Momo took the sword and held it close. Thanks, I will see you later then, Izuku grinned, ran off to the waiting room, and waved behind him. Momo waved back before heading to Class 1A's seating section. Once there, Ochako, Ida, Tsuyu, and Toru went up to Momo to congratulate her for her fight. Hey yeah Momo, sorry about your loss, but you did great, and why do you have Deku's sword? Ochako talked excitedly, but soon got confused at the sight of Momo holding the sword. Oh, he asked me to hold on to it while he fights in the next match. Momo explained. But won't he need it for said match *ribbit*? He said that there was something he needed to do and that he could only do it if he didn't have it. Yet he didn't tell me what that was. Momo said, curious about what Izuku meant. Weird, I mean I would understand if his opponent didn't allow him to bring it, but I doubt Todoroki would. Toru. That sounds odd, but I suppose that it must be important if Midoriya said so. Ida. Meanwhile, Izuku was heading to his waiting room, thinking about his match with Todoroki. Since Todoroki is misunderstanding his situation with his father and is limiting his power in defiance, then I need to stop him. If he only fights with half his power when saving innocent people or fighting villains, then he won't be able to protect others or himself. I will have to make him understand this either with words or smacking some sense into him. Izuku had reached the waiting room and immediately stopped as he saw Endeavor standing next to it. Endeavor saw Izuku and walked up to him. Hello there, Midoriya. Sorry for the sudden visit, but I wanted to talk to you. Sure, Izuku stammered as he was too shocked to say more. I was impressed with your performance so far. Whenever you were backed into a corner, you found a way to make a comeback and win. Your abilities, talent, and the fact you are master's student make you perfect for something I need your help with. It's about my son. You mean the fact that he isn't using his left side because of his history with you? Izuku says, catching on quickly. Endeavor's eyes widen. I am surprised, you know. I had a talk with Todoroki who explained his circumstances. Then I had a chance meet up with Uncle Iroh after he had a talk with you and he explained what happened. Then you know why he doesn't use his left side, which thankfully saves time. Endeavor crossed his arms. I hate to admit I made too many mistakes when it came to my family and Shoto is suffering from it. However, I am unable to fix this problem because he doesn't trust me and won't even talk with me. So, I figured that someone he is closer to would have a better chance to help him understand things better. I am not asking for him to stop hating me. I don't see that happening anytime soon. I just want him to understand that only using half of his quirk won't take him far. I wouldn't say we are close. He only told me about himself after I continued to pressure and beat him in the festival. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. That only proves that you can get him to open up. Therefore I ask of you to help my son. Endeavor did the unexpected and lowered his head. Wow, I wasn't expecting this. Well, I already planned to get him to use his fire. I mean, it feels like it would either be disrespectful if he beat me without going all out or hollow if I won when he wasn't using his full power. Thank you. I know this is a lot to ask, but I thank you for agreeing. Good luck. Endeavor then walked away, leaving Izuku in a confused state. This has been really strange. Thank God that I have some time to regain my thoughts before my next match. Izuku opened the door to the waiting room and entered. After some time has passed, Izuku and Todoroki enter their entrance tunnels waiting for the green light. Hope you are ready, folks, for the next match, because it is bound to be a sight to see two powerhouses go at it. present, Mike said as the crowd cheered in anticipation. Endeavor sat back with Iro and was bouncing his leg, waiting in suspense. "Excited, aren't we?" Iro asked as he sipped his tea. "A bit. But you were right, your student agreed to help, and I am hoping he can. I told you, Izuku has always been one to never stand by when someone needs help." Iro smiled as Midnight walked to the edge of the ring. Midnight looked at the announcer booth and nodded her head, signaling that she was ready to start the match. "Looks like things are ready. Let's welcome in the first contestant, the Ice Prince who can summon winter storms, Class 1A's Shoto Todoroki." Todoroki walked out while showing no emotion on his face as the crowd cheered. "Next is the swordsman who constantly surprises us, Class 1A's Izuku Midoriya." Izuku walked out with his bandana on as the crowd applauded, but were then confused that he didn't have his sword. "Oh, looks like Midoriya doesn't have his sword. I am curious to know the reason why. Will he be able to win without it?" Aizawa narrowed his eyes as he suspected that Izuku didn't bring his sword on purpose. Todoroki was also confused as he remembered telling Midnight that he was okay with Izuku bringing his sword. "Are both fighters ready?" Midnight looked at both contenders and saw them nod their heads. "Then fight." SSHHKKK Todoroki wasted no time and sent an ice wave at Izuku. Izuku expected this, however, and dodged out of the way. Then he started to run at Todoroki to get close enough to fight. Another ice wave was sent to stop Izuku, and he had to backstep to dodge the wave. Whoa! Todoroki starts with a big attack right out of the gate, but Midoriya avoided it. Problem is that Midoriya doesn't seem to be able to get close. "I surprised that you didn't bring your sword. While you still would have lost, you would at least have had a better chance." Todoroki: "I have my reasons and my fists are all I need. I won't lose." Izuku charged up one for all and went full cowling. Todoroki frowned and sent another ice wave, but Izuku dodged it more easily this time. Todoroki decided not to risk it and sent a giant ice wave that was big enough to cover half the ring. Izuku didn't move out of the way and instead crouched low into a jumping stance. Once the ice got close, Izuku leaped upward and over the wave. In the air, he reeled his arm back and concentrated to build up power from his air pressure quirk onto his back. "Meteor smash!" Izuku yelled as he released the energy to shoot himself down at Todoroki. Todoroki's eyes widened as he jumped out of the way. Boom! Izuku's fist landed onto the ground, and while it missed Todoroki, the shockwave from the attack caused Todoroki to stumble and shatter the ice. Izuku used this chance to finally get close to Todoroki, who was worried. "No sword-style dragon twister," Izuku sent Todoroki flying. Amazing! Midoriya is able to dodge Todoroki's instant wind moves and landed the first hit. Todoroki recovered midair and created an ice slide to land safely back onto the ring. Todoroki tried another ice wave, but Izuku dodged again. "Trying the same thing over and over again won't work on defeating me, Todoroki. Looks like he used too much energy on his attack on Zoro, so he can't do an attack as big at that again on me." Izuku smirked. Todoroki scowled but didn't listen and sent another ice attack. Izuku got out of the way and was on Todoroki again. "No sword-style onigiri," Izuku hand-chopped Todoroki to stun him and then landed a punch to his gut. "Gah!" Todoroki choked out as the air was knocked out of him. Todoroki fell to one of his knees, and to protect himself from another follow-up attack, he created a big ice shard to make Izuku back off. Todoroki got hit again and is on the defensive and tried hitting Midoriya with an ice shard, but it didn't hit. Midoriya dodged it easily. That was slower than before, Izuku thought as he took a leap backwards to avoid the ice. He then saw Todoroki shivering and frost building up on his right side. "I think I get it. If he uses his right side too much, then he will start getting cold, risk frostbite, and his power and speed drastically reduces. You're shivering, Todoroki, and you have gotten slower." Izuku spoke, and Todoroki was surprised he figured out his quirk. People forget that quirks are physical attributes, and you are no exception. You are not immune to your temperature changes. That's why if you get too cold or hot, then you use your other side to help. But you deny a part of you and are hindering yourself. Izuku: I don't need it. My ice is powerful enough to stop most foes I come across. Todoroki gave a rebuttal. Ha, you just said it yourself, most foes. It isn't working on me, and it didn't work on the Namu back at the Asji. Your ice isn't enough. It hasn't even put a single scratch on me. You can't win with half of your power, so why should I bother fighting at mine? Izuku yelled back. Todoroki raised an eyebrow in confusion until he realized what he meant. You didn't bring your sword because you think you can beat me without it. Todoroki scowled in anger. I don't think. I know that if you only use your ice, then I can beat you without a sword. Why should I bother fighting at my best when you disrespect me and don't fight at yours? Everyone is doing their best to come out on top, but not you. So, if you want to win, then fight me at 100%, damn it. At 100%, did my old man put you up to this? Todoroki clenched his fists and ran toward Izuku. However, the moment he lifted his right leg to run, Izuku used full cowling to run up to him. That bastard, he planned for this. Izuku raised a fist and punched Todoroki directly in his sternum. That punch caused some spittle and blood to come out of Todoroki's mouth as he was sent back. Another hit by Midoriya. Finally, a foe that his attacks can land on. Present Mike yelled as the crowd cheered, engaged that Todoroki won't sweep the competition. Todoroki sent more ice at Izuku, but it was slow, thus making it easy for Izuku to avoid it. Forget about him and only focus on me. If you let your mind be clouded, then you won't be able to see the truth in front of you. Izuku ran up and punched Todoroki across his face. Todoroki landed hard onto the floor and had trouble pushing himself back up. Why are you going this far? Todoroki breathed out heavily. Because I have a dream that I won't give up on. I have ambition to be the best. You, however, are weakening yourself out of a grudge, and that is fucking idiotic, Izuku yelled as he ran in for another punch. Shut up. Todoroki raised his arms to defend himself, but with how cold he was, Izuku was able to push through and punch him in the chest again. As Todoroki reeled back in pain, the memories of his father's harsh training flooded his mind. Memories of him watching in envy as his siblings played. Memories of his mother trying to comfort him as he recovered. He was crying on the lap of his mom as she bandaged him. The TV on in the background playing some hero interviews. I wanted to stop mommy. I don't want to be like him. I don't want to be like someone who bullies others. But you do want to be a hero, right, Shoto? Rei asks as Shoto looked up at her. The memory faded as he remembered one day after training. Shoto went to his mother's room and heard her crying. He opened the door and quietly went up to her and spoke, "Mommy," Shoto asked to get her attention and saw her turn to face him and knocked the teapot over. Wait, that isn't how it happened. Didn't she throw the boiling teapot at me thinking I was my father? No, that wasn't it. Todoroki then remembered her apologizing and being rushed to the hospital. After being treated and coming home, all traces of his mother were gone. Where's mommy? A young Shoto asked his father after looking around for her. Your mother needed to leave. She couldn't be here anymore. Endeavor replied sorrowfully, not knowing what he said would cause a misunderstanding. Kid Shoto then got angry and balled his fists. It's your fault she is gone. Kid Shoto then ran off. Unknown to Shoto, Endeavor agreed with him. No, it's all his fault and I will never use his quirk, Todoroki yelled as he got up. It's not. It's your quirk, not his or anyone else's, Izuku yelled back. You are not him if you use your fire. You will just be you. So, who do you want to be? Todoroki then remembered back to when his mom asked if he wanted to be a hero. But you do want to be a hero, right, Shoto? Rei asks as Shoto looked up at her. Your father isn't a bully, just someone who made mistakes. Rei sighed. But I understand that you don't want to make the same mistakes he did. Because when a hero makes a mistake, others get hurt. If you want to be a different kind of hero, then that's fine. Rei turned up the volume on the TV as an interview of All Might was happening. Thank you for the interview, All Might. Is there anything you want to say to our viewers before leaving? The interviewer host shakes All Might's hand. Yes, indeed. For anyone out there who wants to be a hero, if you train your butt off and always do what a true hero should do, then you can do it. Just a piece of advice, envision the kind of hero you want to be to help you become just that. That's one of the reasons why I say I am here. Because I wanted to be a hero who can comfort any civilian or frighten the evilest of villains with my presence. So, good luck to you all. All Might gave a thumbs up before the program ended. You see, Shoto, you can become the man you want to be. Rei petted Shoto's head as he stared at the TV with a smile. Suddenly, Todoroki's left side burst into flames as the frost covering him was melting away as he looked at Izuku and smiled. Izuku, however, smiled back as well. Hold on, looks like Todoroki is now using his fire. Man, I can feel the heat from up here in the booth. Present Mike announced as the crowd was in awe as they too felt the heat. Class 1 was surprised that Todoroki is using his fire and Izuku's friends got worried for him. Toshinori was freaking out from his seat as he saw the flames and smile on Izuku's face. Young Midoriya, don't tell me you were trying to help young Todoroki use his fire. Endeavor and Iro smiled as they saw Todoroki's flames from their seats. I knew he could do it. Iro smiled. Izuku, you are full of surprises today. I am thankful for that. Endeavor smiled too as he saw the happy face of his son. Seriously, even though you want to win, you decided to help your enemy. Which one of us is being idiotic now? Nevertheless, to answer your question, I want to be a hero. Todoroki smiled as his flames grew hotter. Good answer. Now I can beat you without anyone arguing that I only beat you since you didn't go all out. Izuku turned up full cowling to 20% and focused building up some air pressure in his hand. This looks like their final attack, viewers. Will Todoroki's flames light his victory bonfire, or will Midoriya snuff the fire out? Cementos saw this and knew this attack from both of the contestants would be a problem. Midnight, we need to stop them. This attack of theirs could seriously injure either one of them, Cementos said into his earpiece as he pulled up some cement to contain the attacks. Right. Midnight ripped part of her costume to let her quirk leak out some gas to knock out Izuku and Todoroki. However, before she could unleash enough gas or for Cementos to block them, Izuku ran at Todoroki, who in return fired a blast of flames at him. I need to dissipate the flames, otherwise I will be cooked alive. Izuku raised his hand up and shot out a jet of air. The air blast made the flames surround it and gave Izuku a chance to slip around it unharmed. Todoroki was shocked by this and tried shooting another less powerful blast to stop him. This blast, however, was not as strong as he thought it was as Izuku ran through it, getting only a little singed. Crap, I don't have good enough control over my fire. Unlike my ice, Todoroki created an ice shield to try and block Izuku's attack. Full cowling smash, Izuku yelled as he smashed through the ice and decked Todoroki across his face. This sent him flying backwards with his feet dragging on the floor. Todoroki tried creating an ice slide to stop him and land safely. Unfortunately, it didn't work as he smashed through his ice and went out of bounds. Todoroki was lying down on the grass, unmoving as he was knocked unconscious. The crowd and Izuku's classmates cheered after witnessing this and applauded. Midnight sighed in relief that neither student was horribly hurt and raised her whip. Shoto Todoroki is out of bounds. Izuku Midoriya is the winner. Izuku raised his fist into the air as the crowd cheered for him. Midoriya wins. He was able to beat the odds again and is now fighting in the final match. Present Mike celebrated while Aizawa looked down in interest. I don't know why, but Midoriya wanted Todoroki to use his left side. While that to Midnight's microphone and her being close, I heard that he wanted to beat Todoroki at his best. However, there is more to this than what meets the eye. Whatever the case, Todoroki stopped holding back, which is a good thing. Aizawa thought as the medical bots took Todoroki to Recovery Girl with Izuku following them. After a 10-minute break, we will begin the next match of Bakugo vs. Ida. I wonder who will be the one to fight Midoriya in the final round. As Izuku followed Todoroki to the nurse's office, he took off his bandana and sighed. I can't believe I was able to win. I honestly was scared that I wouldn't be able to beat him once he started to use his fire. I didn't think you could win either. Izuku looked down at the nearby stretcher in surprise. Todoroki was awake now and staring directly at the ceiling as he was being moved on the stretcher. How are you doing? Hope that I didn't break anything. Izuku asks in concern as Todoroki waved him off. I'm fine, a little battered and bruised, but fine. Strangely, I feel lighter than before. I can't explain it. That's what happens when you let go of a grudge. Though did you fully release it, Izuku? I don't think so. Something like this can't be forgiven and forgotten at a second's notice. I was only able to use my fire because you made me forget about my father for a second. The problem is that when I used my fire, my control over it was dangerous. It was either all or nothing, hence why you were able to run through the second, weaker, blast. I will need to think about this for a bit. Todoroki closed his eyes in thought. Well, I hope you can learn to have better control over it. If you master both your ice and fire, you will make a great hero. Izuku responded as they reached the nurse's office. Izuku and Todoroki enter it and Recovery Girl heals Todoroki first. He then takes a nap in one of the open beds while Izuku gets checked out. Thankfully, since this time he received no injuries, Izuku was able to get a few gummies to recover some energy and leave. Izuku walked back up to his class's seating area where he was bombarded by his classmates. Midoriya, that was amazing. You beat Todoroki and even made him use his fire. You were awesome. Congrats, man. Thanks, guys. Izuku runs the back of his head in embarrassment from all the praise. Momo then walked up to him and presented his sword. I believe this belongs to you. Thank you, Momo, for taking care of it. Izuku smiles as he takes it back and reattaches it to his waist. I do have a question for you, though. During the match, we were able to hear some of what you two said while fighting. Did you not bring your sword to fight at your full ability because Todoroki wasn't doing so either, Momo? Yeah. I wanted to show him that he was being disrespectful to his opponents who were going all out. Not to mention that if he holds back too much, then that gives villains an opportunity to defeat him. Izuku explained while his classmates were in awe of him. For our class president to look out for the rest of us is an amazing thing. Ida teared up along with Kirishima, who was saying how manly Izuku was. Mina was so shocked that she had to take a seat. Wow, Midoriya is amazing. He just keeps on helping those around him. Like that time he helped me from being stomped over when the reporters got in. Maybe I should talk to him more and get to know him better. After all, he is really cute. Huh? Ida, what are you doing here? Isn't your match next? Izuku points out, and Ida stiffens in response at this reminder. Correct. Thanks for reminding me. If you will excuse me. Ida robotically waves as he leaves. I am excited to see how his match will go. Who do you guys think will win, Ochako? Ida has speed, but so does Kaken. So, it will be whoever gets the first big hit in first. Izuku explains his thoughts as he gets ready to watch the match. Now it's time for the final match of the third round, Present Mike yells out as the audience got excited. In one corner is the glasses-wearing, speed demon of Class 1A, Tenya Ida. Ida marched out of his tunnel and entered his side of the ring. The other side had someone who is as loud as the explosions he creates, Class 1A's Katsuki Bakugo. Bakugo walked out with an unamused look of his face. Are both fighters ready? Midnight asks as she stands outside the ring. Once she sees both students nod their heads, she cracks her whip. Then begin. Recipro burst, Ida called out as he ran forward and was next to Bakugo in the blink of an eye. He was about to shoulder check Bakugo to send out of the ring. However, Bakugo anticipated this and used his explosions to fly over him. Whoa! Ida dashed at Bakugo in a second, but Bakugo avoided him. Now that he is in the air, what will Bakugo do now? I don't want to waste any more time on you, so die. Bakugo flew downward at Ida and attempted to blast him. With his engines still going into overdrive, Ida ran away to avoid Bakugo's attack. I only have a few seconds left of Recipro burst, so I need to end this now. Ida gained some distance as Bakugo flew back up into the air. Looks like Bakugo is using Ida's limited attack range to his advantage and is staying in the air. What will, or rather what can, Ida do now? Ida didn't look discouraged and started to run toward Bakugo's direction. Then at full spend he bent down to lead up high. Bakugo was surprised by this as Ida flew towards him and readying a kick. Please, I have better maneuverability in the air than you, stupid. Bakugo used another blast to get away, but Ida pulled a fake out. He wasn't readying a kick, but instead positioned his legs to get into a good landing position. Once he landed and was almost underneath Bakugo, Ida did a standing long jump right back into the air where Bakugo now was. I've got you now. Ida pulled his leg back and was about to kick. The kick lands into Bakugo's side while Ida mentally cheers. Looks like Ida pulled a feint and instead of trying to hit Bakugo, he was positioning himself to be closer, leaving less room for him to dodge. Is this Ida's win? Ida's moment of satisfaction was short-lived as Bakugo wasn't sent flying out of bounds. Looks like the time on your speed boost is over 4 eyes, Bakugo smirked as he was seen holding onto Ida's leg. He caught my leg. He must have predicted when I would stall out and was able to catch me off guard. Ida worriedly tries to pull his leg out of Bakugo's grasp, but his stalled engines made it so he couldn't break free. Now that I have a hold of you, you can't escape my next blast. Go to hell. Bakugo points one of his hands at Ida and unleashes a huge explosion. Ah! Ida is blasted back down to earth and lands near the edge of the ring. Bakugo then using his explosions to fly towards the ground and Ida. Die! Bakugo uses both hands to bring a bigger explosion than last time to fully knock Ida out of the ring. Tenya Ida is out of bounds. Katsuki Bakugo is the winner. Midnight waves her whip and the crowd cheers. Incredible! Bakugo was able to catch Ida right when his engine stalled and used his hold on his leg to make sure he couldn't dodge his next explosion. Then Bakugo proceeds to use another explosion to knock Ida out of the ring. Looks like Bakugo will face Midoriya in the final match. Once Bakugo lands back onto the ground, he looks up at Class 1A's seating area. His eyes scan over his classmates until they land on Izuku and glares at him. Izuku saw this and stared back at him, both now readying themselves to face the other in the final match and win the sports festival. I won't let you beat me again, Deku. I will be the one who will come out on top, Kaken. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through What If Deku Mastered 3 Swords Style Like Zoro. I hope you found it as intriguing and thought-provoking as we did. A big shout out to GhostKnightTwilight for crafting such a compelling story. Don't forget to check out their profile on Archive of Our Own for more amazing works. The link is in the description below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to What If Deku 2.0 for more fascinating explorations into the world of fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we're always excited to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section. See you guys in the next video.